Well, good morning and welcome to episode 4 of my week of neutral looks here on my channel, where we are only featuring Pat McGrath palettes. I have already done everything up to my foundation, and for my foundation today I am going to be taking the Chanel Water Fresh Touch, what is it called again? Complexion Touch something something. This is a newly released product. Supposedly it's a skin tint, but to be honest, for me personally this is basically foundation level coverage. I'm actually going to take only one pump, and I'm going to try to just apply little droplets here on my face because I don't like to have a lot of coverage. And the first time I demoed this on my channel, I actually applied 2 pumps, and I had the feeling that 2 pumps was actually even too much for me. So I'm just going to apply one, blend it out, and see whether I need a bit more here and there. But like I said, I prefer my coverage to be pretty minimal. So maybe this is going to be more than sufficient for me, especially for like a hot summer day. But the nice thing about a product like this is that you can build it up. You can definitely build this up to be more of a medium coverage. This is like very sheer, very light, because I preferred it that way. But if you were to put another pump of this, you could definitely up this to medium coverage. I'm going to pair this with the Charlotte Tilbury. I'm going to pair this with the Charlotte Tilbury Air Blush. Maybe I should choose another powder so I can pronounce the name. I'm going to take my Charlotte Tilbury powder. I'm not going to pronounce the name because there are too many letters in here that are together that are making it difficult for me to pronounce. For bronzer, at the risk of getting really boring for you guys, I'm going to take my Charlotte Tilbury bronzer in the shade medium. This is one of the new bronzers that she released. I've really been enjoying this. I love the formula so much, and this specific shade is just such a perfect bronzing shade. Now for my blush today, I'm going to be taking my beloved Desert Orchid out of to rebel and to express my utter frustration that my blush duo and my highlighter from the newest release from Pat McGrath have already been in the Netherlands since 5 days ago, because they were even cleared by customs 5 days ago. So it is an absolute mystery to me why I still haven't gotten them. Every day I think, oh come on, now it has to be the day. Monday passed, Tuesday passed. I'm very curious whether today will be yet another day that passes without my package arriving. I'm so pissed off. I was almost completely sure that today we're going to also be demoing Paradise Glow and Golden Moonlight, but nope. Instead, we're just sticking to my favorite blush of all time as a sign of protest. For highlighter, I'm going to be taking my Skin Fetish Trio, and I want to reiterate one more time what an incredibly gorgeous product these baked highlighters are. I usually just like dip my brush either in all 3 or in these 2 or in these 2. I always kind of make some sort of a combination, especially with this one, because it's a little bit too deep for me to wear on its own. I think I'm going to keep it to the more golden shades today. Actually, you know what? It's maybe a little bit too yellow, so I'm going to take a little bit of the pink as well. And I'm going to layer that over top to create a bit more of like a peach tone. These powders are so stunning. They're so smooth on the skin. They have the tiniest bit of reflect to them in the sunlight without being offensively glittery. Honestly, I think this may be one of the best like highlighter powder products that Pat McGrath has released. And I have to say, I love all of her other formulas. You know, Golden Nectar is my favorite highlighter of all time. But I want to reiterate that even though these are an older release, they're still so worth it. I'm going to quickly apply a little bit of Fix Plus by spritzing my sponge here to melt all the face powders that I put, especially on my cheeks. This just kind of always helps everything to melt into each other nicely and takes away any sort of powderiness that might remain. And now for today's eye look, I thought it would be an absolute crime against humanity if we didn't do a look featuring one of my absolute favorite neutral eyeshadows from Pat McGrath. Hands down, one of the most beautiful neutrals I've ever seen, and that is the shade Golden Polaris. It's very interesting that when people talk about this quad, obviously they're usually distracted by the Blurple Duochrome. They usually mention Divine Dahlia because Divine Dahlia is also a very unique eyeshadow. No one ever seems to talk about Golden Polaris, and I think Golden Polaris is a hidden gem in this palette. I think it might easily be my favorite eyeshadow in this squad, because Blur Pulse we have seen from Pat, she can do those really well. Divine Dahlia is absolutely gorgeous, but there is something about the tone and the shine on Golden Polaris that is unmatched. Golden Polaris, if you didn't notice, is one of my favorite Pat McGrath eyeshadows. So we are going to feature it in a look today, actually with a bunch of other eyeshadows and another favorite of mine, another one of my like more neutral tone favorites, and that is this beautiful peachy coppery shade here that is in the Risque Rose Squad. I've never actually worn the two together, and I think they might make a really beautiful combination. This shade has the most beautiful creamy formula, and it just looks so elegant on the lid because of the formula and the tone. However, before we jump into these two eyeshadows, I would like to run the peach shade from Fleur Fantasia through my crease, because I think it would match the look really nicely while keeping it a bit more subtle. So I'm going to take this shade. If you wanted to amp this up a little bit, or if you have a somewhat deeper skin tone, you can definitely grab the peachy shade from Divine Rose 2 palette, and I think you would achieve pretty much the same effect. Or if you wanted to go for something even punchier, you could take the Coral from Utopian Dream. But for me and for what I want to achieve today with this look, I think I'm going to stick to a somewhat softer peachy coral shade. Next, I'm going to take my NYX glitter glue, and I'm going to apply that all over my lid for the metallic eyeshadows to have something to stick to. So I'm just going to pop that right here, actually all over the lid. And then using my trusty fingers, I'm going to go first into this shade from the Risque Rose Squad and apply that here onto the outer portion of the lid, more or less like halfway. Not taking it all the way in or too far in, because I would like to also leave quite a bit of space for Golden Polaris to shine. And then, without wasting another minute, I'm going to go into Golden Polaris again using my finger. I might just take a brush for the very inner corner, but for the rest I'm just going to use my fingers, because... Wait, let me zoom you... Sorry, I totally forgot to zoom you in a little bit. I don't know whether you can see on camera how beautiful and reflective Golden Polaris is. It is just so stunning. It's one of those shades that I'm actively worried about panning and what I'm going to do if I ever run out of this shade. Probably never going to happen, but it's, you know, the stuff of nightmares. I'm going to use a little brush now to pop it into my inner corners, because I don't have nifty little fingers to shove in there. And I thought what might be a really good match between the two shades to marry them together better and a little bit of sparkle to add to the look would be this shade from the Bridgerton 2 palette, which is a little bit more like that rose gold, sort of like cooler toned rose gold sparkly astral shade. So I'm going to apply that here, right at the border between the two shades. I think this shade just makes the perfect topper for Golden Polaris specifically, because it doesn't change the tone of Golden Polaris, it just gives it a ton of sparkle. Keeping the lower lash line quite simple, I'm going to just go back into the peachy matte shade from the Fleur Fantasia quad and run that onto my lower lash line. I kept the look fresh and summery also for my lips, and I busted out one of my absolute favorite summer lipstick products, and that is the Lush Gloss in the shade Heavy Petal from Pat McGrath Labs. It's a somewhat brighter, warmer pink, and I think it looks really beautiful with yellow, and it complements this look really nicely. Now I realize that this is the second time that we're doing a somewhat more peachy look, because I did something similar with the Fleur Fantasia quad, but I just could not imagine doing this series without Golden Polaris, and my mind just kind of went into that direction. I'm not nearly done with this series, so there will be more looks coming in this context. I promise I will try my best to do somewhat more neutral, cool-toned looks, although Mother hasn't really graced us with many like cool-toned eyeshadows, and especially not in her like baked and astral formula. I'm still really looking forward to the day that she will release like cooler taupes and cooler like browns in her astral and VR formula, because that would be really swell. I hope that you are still excited for this series, because I'm definitely going to come back to do quite a few more looks. I might not even be done within this week, and we may even continue doing them next week, who knows. The week might turn into a whole series. Anyway, I hope that you are enjoying this series. Let me know what you thought about this look as usual. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!